Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my Star Seraph Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for March 2021. This was the deck used by Dumon in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal anime, part of the Baryon Force and one of the 7 Emperors. He focused on number 102, Star Seraph Sentry, a card that focused on using light monsters to overlay into it and its Chaos version. I've always wanted to do an update to the deck. Actually, when I say update, I don't even know if I've ever done a Star Seraph deck on the channel that focused on the rank up powers of Star Seraph Sentry or not, but focusing also on the fact that I wanted to go through all of the Baryon Emperors eventually and do deck profiles. I figured this would be the next best one to focus on, since I just recently did a 101 Honor Arc and Shark deck profile. So let's go ahead and get started with the Star Seraph deck profile. So for the actual main deck monsters for the Star Seraph, some of them actually saw some pretty big play back in the day, with the first one being Star Seraph Scepter. When this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Star Seraph monster from your deck to your hand, except for Star Seraph Scepter. And an XYZ monster that was summoned using 3 or more monsters, including this card, on the field as material, gains this effect. When it exceeds summon, you can target one other card in the field and destroy it. If you do, draw 1 card. So the good majority of the cards you're going to want to summon out with this card, including your Star Seraph Sentry, which needs 3 level 4 light monsters, can benefit from this, because then you'll have the destruction and draw power that Scepter can provide, and working very, very well with our next Star Seraph monster, which is Star Seraph Sovereignty. It cannot be used as material except for the Xyz summon for an Xyz monster that uses 3 or more monsters as material. If you normal or special summon a Star Seraph monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you do, draw 1 card. Then you can special summon it if it's a Star Seraph monster. So the great setup with your Star Seraph Scepter is the fact that when it's normal or special summon, you can add 1, and then you can chain off of Sovereignty, off of this add, and summon it onto the field, and gain your additional summon if it is another Star Seraph, giving you your 3 monsters on the field to use. And the majority of the monsters that we do use in the main deck are Star Seraph monsters, so very beneficial if you end up drawing into a Star Seraph, which is a good possibility when using Sovereignty. For the additional Star Seraph monsters, I also run 3 Star Seraph Scout. When this card is normal summon, you can special summon 1 Star Seraph monster from your hand. So before any of the other plays we mentioned before, you can just summon out Scout, and then use Scout to summon out Scepter onto the field, since it'll work even when it's special summoned, and then go for the search into Sovereignty right then and there. If you have the additional search off of Sovereignty, you'll have 1 additional monster on the field to use, but if not, you'll have your 3 right then and there to use for the overall play. So 3 Scout, I would say, is definitely necessary when going for the Star Seraph build. Just an easy special summon when you have multiple Star Seraph cards in your hand altogether. And I also run 3 Star Seraph Sage. Once per turn, you can send 1 spell from your hand to the graveyard to special summon 1 Star Seraph monster from your hand. So it's not so much a special summon, it's more of a setup. We do run a good number of spells, and a good number of them being multiples. So if you open up multiples of the same spell that we run in the deck, it just makes for good discard cost for Star Seraph Sage to benefit from the special summon of another Star Seraph monster in your hand. And we do run, like I said, plenty of them to rely on for this effect. So you could just have this card on the field as that resource to use, even if it's one sent out by Sovereignty as the 4th card in the field. We'll go over that play at the end of the video. I also run 2 Star Seraph Scale. With this card, when it is special summon, you can special summon 1 Star Seraph monster from your hand. Then you can place 1 light monster from your graveyard on the top of your deck. And an Xyz monster that was summoned using 3 or more monsters, including this card, gains this effect once per turn while this card is Xyz material. If a monster is special summoned from your hand, immediately draw 1 card. So this deck's all about draw power and its consistency for summoning out monsters on the field, but being able to set up a card on the field basically to the top of your deck means that you'll benefit, because the card you'll reveal with Sovereignty, if you special summon this card, means that you'll draw, reveal it, it'll be a Star Seraph monster, and gain you an additional special summon on the field to use. That all works very, very well together for that engine. The last of the Star Seraph monsters I am running is 1 Star Seraph Sword. Once per turn, you can send 1 Star Seraph monster from your hand to the graveyard to have this card gain attack equal to the original attack of the sent monster. So this is mostly in here just as a means to get over some of your opponent's monsters. If you have any of your opponent's monsters that's kind of locking you out of plays, being able to send a Star Seraph from your hand to the graveyard, like let's say Vanity's Fiend, shutting down special summons. If you can just send another Star Seraph from your hand to the graveyard, this card will gain enough attack to at least attack over that monster and not be a problem card anymore on the field. It's just good for that setup, and that's why I like to attack the 1 in the deck. For the additional support, along with being light attribute, the Star Seraph monsters are also fairy. So I run 3 Nova Summoner. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 light fairy type monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck. If Sanctuary in the Sky is face up on the field, you can special summon 1 Archlord Parshath instead. But the main play is just easy setup for more and more Star Seraph monsters on the field. For your plays, it has to be 1500 or less, which we do run a good amount of different ones in the field for that play, and a couple other monsters as well that can benefit from this special summon. Or you can just even go into another Nova Summoner and just float on the card to have 1 additional resource on the field to use with your Star Seraphs come next turn. I also run the 3 Photon Thrasher. It cannot be normal summon or set. It must first be special summon from your hand while you control no monsters, and cannot attack if you control another one. But it's just good for that special summon. Then you can go into your Star Seraph play, just like floating into Nova Summoner. This card's good for that additional play to rely on summoning more and more monsters on the field for resources. Since you're not really limited to what you need to summon out the monsters, number 102 Star Seraph Sentry just needs basically 3 level 4 light monsters, which Thrasher and Nova Summoner fit the spot basically for that. And then lastly, for the monsters in the main deck, I just run the 2 Honest. This card can even be summoned off of Nova Summoner, and if it's still on the field afterwards, you can return it back to your hand during your turn. So just more resources to rely on with this card. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. For the rank up spells, I run 2 rank up magic, Numeron Force. You target a face-up Xyz monster you control and special summon from your extract 1 number C monster with the same type as that monster you control, but 1 rank higher by using it as Xyz material. And also, any materials attached to it become Xyz material on the new card. Then, if any face-up cards are on the field other than this card, and the monster summoned by it, negate the effects of those other cards. So with it, you'll gain your main go-to boss monster, which is number C102, Archfiend Seraph, on the field with this easy spell to use. I do also run the 1 rank up magic, the 7th one, just as an additional draw option when you draw into it, giving you the option to special summon 102 back onto the field from the graveyard and go into the Chaos rank with that play. But once again, just running the 1 of, since it's a once per duel, if you can draw into it and benefit from that play late game, it's your main go-to card for it. With fairies also being a big part of the deck, for more easy special summon from the hand, I run 3 Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen. Once per turn, you can special summon 1 fairy type monster. From your hand, you must control the monsters to activate and resolve this effect. It's just an easy special summon onto the field again if you just need the resource, or if you have multiples of the same Star Seraph in your hand. Since Star Seraph Scout has to be normal summon, you can at least special summon 1 with Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen, then normal summon the other one, and then gain that additional special summon with that Scout on the field, and have the 3 monsters you need to go into your main Xyz monster. I also, for the additional special summon play, even during your opponent's turn, if you just need a defensive card to rely on, 3 Photon Lead, you special summon 1 level 4 lower light monster from your hand in attack position. So with it, it just gives you a monster. Sometimes it can be a monster that's strong enough for your opponent not to be able to hit over it, or just one that would benefit more from the fact that if it would be destroyed, including cards like Nova Summoner on the field, being able to then destroy it and then go into another Nova Summoner from the deck. And then for some of the other additional spells, being the only one, which is Monster Reborn. Once again, just another resource. If you have the Numeron rank up spell in your hand, you can summon back Star Seraph Sentry, and then go for the rank up play with that card on the field, negating all the other cards on the field as well. And then that is it. Like I said, for the spells, we'll now move on to the traps. We don't really use life points for anything really in the deck. So for the trap lineup, I decided to go with the Solemn Engine. So 3 Solemn Strike, just a good defensive card. Once you have your 1 Xyz monster on the field, you really want ways to protect it because it's going to be your main go-to play. So 3 Solemn Strike is just a good way to balance out the 2 Solemn Judgment and the 2 Solemn Warning. Once again, stopping monster summons, spell and traps, you name it, and then being able to rely on your Star Seraph Sentry for its main play, being able to then hit over some of your opponent's monsters for the summon after summoning your Star Seraph Sentry out onto the field. And that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the extra deck, I run 2 number 102 Star Seraph Sentry. You need 3 level 4 light monsters, which is the majority of all the monsters in our main deck, to summon this card out. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, half its attack, also negates effects, and if this face-up card on the field would be destroyed, you can detach all of its Xyz materials instead, and if you do any battle damage you take this turn is halved. So, sort of a defensive card, but also able to go on the offense offensive against your opponent, and very, very easy to summon out just by the resource we have in the deck, being all of the different Star Seraph monsters. For the Chaos Xyz version, I also run 2 C102 Archfiend Seraph, being a light fairy as well. If this face-up card be destroyed, you can detach 2 Xyz material from it instead, which with the 3 Xyz and then the additional monster, you'll have 2 goes at this card's monster effect. And if this card has number 102 Star Seraph Sentry as Xyz material, it also gains the effect once per turn. You can detach 1 Xyz material from this card to target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and change that target's attack to 0 and negate its effect. So instead of just half, you can hit for over 2,900 points of damage with this card alone against your opponent's monster, and definitely much better than the original Star Seraph Sentry, since you have 2 detaches instead of all the materials of this card to protect it. So then you had the 1 go with this monster effect. With this card, you have at least the 1 go and then the additional play afterwards if it were to be destroyed. For some additional Xyz monsters, I also run 1 number 104 Masquerade and 1 Umbral Horror, just as some additional monsters to summon out with the rank up spells, and you're not as restricted with this card for the Xyz material you need to make it. I also run 1 Bujinte Tsukiyomi and 1 Star Liege Paladynamo. You can't go into a majority of the cards without the benefits for the Xyz play for the Star Seraphs, but still good for the draw power and stopping some of your opponent's monsters. And the Stellar Knight Deltaros is one of my favorites to go into because, 1, it needs 3 materials to make it, so you can fully benefit from the Star Seraph monsters making this card, and also the destruction effect and the fact that your opponent can't activate cards when you summon it makes it quite a scary card to get around. For the rest of the Xyz, I run the 1 Tornado Dragon. You can try Baguska or even Abyss Dweller as another option for this final Xyz spot, but for the Link monsters, I run 2 Hit Potion Engen. Once again, with our restrictions for the Star Seraph monsters, you can sometimes just use the 2 light monsters and not have to worry about any of the Xyz plays for them, because then you'll just have a power boosted Hit Potion Engen on the field that you can use with your Star Seraph Sentry. And then for the rest of the Link monsters, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, and the 1 Borreload Dragon to finish off the extra deck. And then as for the go-to plays that I spoke of before, if your starting hand is the Star Seraph Scout, and you go for the additional special summon, you can summon out your Star Seraph Scepter onto the field, using this card's effect to then add a Star Seraph monster from your deck to your hand, benefiting off of Sovereignty, adding it and special summoning it onto the field, and then being able to use the effect if you draw and reveal a Star Seraph in your hand. You can then go into Star Seraph Sage for that card you potentially could have revealed off of Sovereignty. Also benefiting, remember, if you use Scales additionally earlier in the turn, for putting the top card of your deck onto the field, and then knowing that it'll be that card off of Sovereignty. You just have to remember the search for these cards will be interrupted, and you'll mess up the top card if you use Scepter afterwards. But having the original setup of these 4 cards means then you have the 1 spell in your hand for the additional Star Seraph. So if you're going second and you have 1 additional Star Seraph monster in your hand to use, and the last final 2 cards can either be 1 additional spell in your hand and then 1 other Star Seraph monster, you can then use Sage to discard the spell to special summon the last Star Seraph onto the field. And then remember, you'll want to use the beneficial cards for the Xyz plays for the Xyz, and then go using these 2 monsters for a Link play. So using these 2 to go into Hit Potion Engen, and then using the final 3, and once again benefiting from the draw power of your Scepter to overlay the 3 into your Star Seraph Sentry for that overlay. And being the fact that your Hit Potion Engen will gain an additional 500 attack points is a more difficult monster to get over, and then having the detach for the effect negation and halving your opponent's monster, and also recycle power when Hit Potion Engen is sent to the graveyard to recycle cards back to your hand to use. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. It's a very fun deck, and once again, I do want to focus on some of the other Star Seraphs in the future. I said Star Seraphs, but what I meant to say is the Barian Emperor decks. I know we have 104. I've done hands recently with Rise of the Duelist, but a bunch of different ones still that we can work on, even with including 104 Masquerade was used in the Umbral Horrors was one I focused on, but still plenty more to look into. And until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.